Reading 11 from the Psychological Commentaries on the Teaching of Gurdjieff and Ouspensky by Dr. Maurice Nicoll, Volume 3. Quaramid Ugle, December 8, 1945. On obeying the work. When you begin to obey this work, you cannot do as you like. However, it takes us a very long time before this begins to become clear. It is not something that can be learnt by heart or told you by someone else, but it is actually a growth of one's own experience. It is, of course, connected with keeping one's aim. To act from one's aim is to act without being identified. But again, it takes us a long time before we know what aim means. At first, it is something that we think about in words without seeing what these words mean. Aim gradually becomes clearer to us as always having to do with self-change. Now, no self-change is possible if we always do what we like. Let us put the matter a little differently. If we always do what is pleasing to us and easy to do, no self-change is possible. The central idea of the work is self-change, and the central teaching of the work is that man is an unfinished creation, a self-developing organism, one whose only real task is to complete itself. If we do not grasp this significance of the work, we shall never be able either to make a right aim or to keep it in the right way. The force of the work will not help us. The work cannot help us unless we are doing what the work is teaching. How, for instance, can the work help us if we never remember ourselves? Many people make aim that has nothing to do with the work or is not done in connection with any feeling of the work. Let us suppose my aim is to climb the highest mountain in the world. Could this possibly be called a work aim? But suppose you say that no one would have an aim of that kind now. Well, let us say that a person makes a small aim to cook an excellent dinner. There are so many ways in which that excellent dinner can be cooked. I mean psychological ways, not ordinary ways. Now, suppose you have made a big and real aim that you are going to try to remember to act in life without identifying, and that you are going to try to practice this great work exercise at least several times a day. Then, of course, in taking this small aim of cooking an excellent dinner in conjunction with this general and real aim, it would really be one example, and you would have to cook it without being identified, and if anything went wrong or someone put in something wrong, you would have to separate from those eyes that will start to become negative. But it is very difficult not to do everything personally, and there is always that form of internal considering which the work stresses, which consists in thinking that even the weather itself is bad on purpose. You can always tell when you are working by a curious feeling, which in a way can be compared with the feeling one used to have on returning to school. You cannot quite have your own way. And when you are having your own way, you are quite aware of it and not very happy. A school, in the work sense, first of all gives you this feeling externally, so to speak, although you are free to leave. But later on, this feeling must be in you without any surrounding school. Then you will not do things personally in the same way as you formerly did. There will, of course, always be two divisions of eyes, two people in you, one who wishes the work and one who does not. And the struggle between these two will always continue because there must be strife at the bottom of work. Work begins when a man starts to struggle with himself. I said above that when you begin to obey this work, you cannot do as you like. The work is really conscience. At first it is outside you, You hear it speaking in the work teaching. Man has conscience, but it is buried. This conscience that the work speaks about is the same in everyone. When I first heard this, it seemed to me extraordinary that this was the case. How could conscience be the same in everyone? But when I reflected that the work also teaches that higher centers exist in everyone, only unheard, the idea did not seem so extraordinary. Man, having gone so deeply asleep, has to be taught now from outside. This work is esoteric teaching from outside at first. If a man feels it emotionally, if something in him responds to it, and finally if he persists for a long time, he finds that the work is in him as well as outside him. Then he must obey the work. He must not know for a long time how to. He may not know for a long time how to. But the intention must be there in him. And after a time, he will be shown the way, or the work will find a way for him, often quite the contrary to what he supposed. All this depends on obeying the work, first of all, through the mind, and the emotional, thinking, and finally with the will as a whole, namely, with the whole mass of the man. But this latter stage is far from us at present. When the work is in you, in the above sense, you begin to know how to act in life with non-identifying. Some people might call it acting impersonally, but I do not agree with the use of this word. You can act very personally without identifying. You remember that we are all blinded with identifying, that we are all rendered deaf and dumb by it, and that identifying is our most terrible enemy. Only the work has the strength to overcome this terrible power.